I get to work with smart, successful people every single day. I get to teach our clients the ins and outs of franchising, many of whom end up achieving their get to by finding that perfect match for them.
Welcome to Francoach's Franchising 101 podcast series. Here we talk about all things franchising. What is it all about? Is it for you? How do you find the best one to own? And so much more. Now your host, Tim Parmeter.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Francoach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, the founder and CEO of Francoach and your podcast host. Today, we do not have a guest. You're stuck with just me, but we're going to talk about a cool little thing called get to versus got to. And we're going to kind of explain which is which, how that affects the folks that we work with and what we do here at Francoach. Before we dive into all of that, of course, let's remind you who we are and what we do. Francoach is a national search firm dedicated to working with individuals who are interested in owning a franchise. We are partnered with well over 500 of the top franchisors in the country, spanning nearly 60 industries. Our goal is to help clients find the absolute best franchise for them to own. And the goal of the Franchising 101 podcast series is to simply help educate people on all aspects of the amazing world of franchising and franchise ownership. Okay, so that's us. So get to versus got to. To start with, I'm going to totally fess up. I stole get to versus got to. I saw Ernie Johnson, who, if anybody watches sports or the NBA, has been a longtime host on TNT for their pregame and postgame show. Won Emmys, all of this stuff. He has to deal with Shaq and Barkley and Kenny Smith all the time. But he was speaking actually at the University of Alabama football program, and he talked about kind of the get to got to, and it was really, he got into all sorts of other things. But it really struck with me because it's kind of what we do. It's both my life personally and professionally, what we do with Francoach. So the got to is probably most people out there, and I've been in that situation in the past as well. But it's the got to, right? You wake up and realize you have little to no control over your life. This is the got to. It means you got to get up and go to work. No matter how nice the corporate job title is, it's still working for somebody else, which means someone else is ultimately controlling your existence, your time. You got to be at work at a certain time. You got to do these things. You've got to all along the way. And a lot of those got tos are taking away from things maybe within your life that you would like to do. Maybe it's, do you ever miss something with your kids because you got to do something at work or family or life or travel or experiences because you got to go to work. Nothing wrong with having a job, but it's the got to, right? And maybe the only thing worse out there than I've got to get up and I've got to go to this job is not having a job. And instead, you got to look for a job all day long. There are not many things more depressing, more demeaning, more deflating than the job search process. But you got to do the job search, so you got to go to a job that you may or may not really like. That's the got to. It's why every single time the folks that we work with, when we talk about why they're even looking at this, the one word that almost everybody uses is the word control. Does that mean we're a control freak? Maybe, but usually what they mean with that, it's just this. It's control. They are then becoming in charge of the hours, the lifestyle. Everybody wants, let's be honest, we all want money. We need money. Like, we like to be able to eat and do things like that. But it's really the control over the time, when they're working, what they're doing, how they're doing it, the things that they're doing and able to do away from work. That's switching the got to the get to. I am incredibly fortunate and lucky that I have some amazing get-tos. And just even today, I'm able to wake up and I get to take my 8-year-old to school, and all the fun things that get talked about along the way. I get to communicate with our team. I get to work with smart, successful people every single day. I get to teach our clients the ins and outs of franchising, many of whom end up achieving their get to by finding that perfect match for them. Today also includes I get to record a podcast, and I love this. So that's fun as well. I get to have the freedom to pick up my son from school and not have to worry about, asking my boss. I get up, I leave at 2:00. I go pick up his little butt, take him to any of the extracurricular activities, which I have to figure out what's maybe on the calendar for that later today. Homework, which isn't always like that's a get to, but almost a borderline got to, because third grade math is a little over my head. But I get to do those things. I get to spend time with my fiance today and talk about different things in our lives, personally, but also professionally, which includes the businesses we have separately and together. This is a full day of get to. I am well aware that I am fortunate with this, but it really wasn't anything special to create it. It's understanding how to find the best fit for me. And then that is for me is also helping everybody else do that. And then really just taking that first step towards making it happen. And so part of what I want to be able to help people with is, if you're tired of the got tos in your life and you want to get more get tos, then really inspire you to at least take a moment to look at what franchise ownership can do to you or do for you, right? And if you're listening to this podcast, let's be honest, there's a good chance you've at least considered working for yourself, or that you're tired of the got-tos and feel like there's got to be something better out there. And there is. Franchise ownership is not for everybody, and that's okay. But however, it is significantly more attainable than people realize. There are numerous funding options out there that we have our partnerships with. Some of them, it's requires little to no liquidity at times. There are things where I always kind of talk about people, if you could buy a starter home today, right? Not mega mansion, just that cute little starter home. If you could make that happen, we would have hundreds of franchises that can fit that range and get you in the door to the get-tos. The other thing that we work with folks on a lot is we're trying to figure out what that franchise should look like. And again, it goes back to the get-tos. Literally, the first thing is we have a lengthy call building out the process. First thing we talk about is, why are we looking at this, right? And if there's not an answer for why, then we know we shouldn't be. But again, it usually goes back to frustration with the things that we got to do and wishing the things that we could get to do. And almost always that is, again, back to the control. But from there, we're going to really, and this is the key thing. We've got a podcast that we've talked about this in the past. It's called the Get Out of Bed Test. Get out of bed test. And that is building what that owner role looks like for folks. And it's a blank slate. It's not, what are your bullet points on your resume from your last 4 jobs? I don't care. It's not that I don't care that doesn't matter, but it's really about that's what you got to do in the past. Some of which you may be very good at, some of which you may want to have as a get to in the future, but not all of it. And there's typically some things that you would really love to get to do that you haven't been able to working for somebody else. As an owner, we're going to create that ultimate get to for you. So you're able to be excited about getting out of bed every day and the things that you're going to get to do throughout the day, professionally and personally. So you're in charge of those priorities. You're in charge of building a business, whether that ends up being the business equivalent to a starter home, and the starter home is the dream home. There is nothing wrong with that. And there are tons of franchise owners that are incredibly happy with their existence with that, because that is what they get to do. But you can also turn, you can use my housing analogy, you can turn that starter home into, hey, then we fixed that up. We lived there a while. We sold it, made a profit. We were able to get to buy something else and get to buy something else and get to, you can do the same thing with the business ownership. So for every kind of starter home business owner that's out there that's extremely happy, there's also that empire builder that gets to continue to grow and build. In the corporate world, I don't care what your title is, when you're done, you're done. There's no, I'm not selling it to the next person. I can't pass it on to somebody in my family. You're walking away. That's it. With the business ownership, you get to build equity. You get to build wealth. You get to involve your family as you want or is needed. And at the very least, you get to teach. For those of you with children, you get to teach them there's another way. They can create their own path with this. And that's the thing I just always kind of hope, and this kind of topic just hit me the other day, that, again, being able to, there was a client of ours we were working with, and they really kind of were expressing their gratitude and excitement for making this transition. And again, kind of coincided with the Ernie Johnson thing. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is what we do. And I want to thank all of our loyal podcast listeners. But again, if you're listening and we haven't talked yet, why not? Because this is on your mind. Let's have a conversation to determine if now is the time for you to get to be in control of what you're doing day in, day out, professionally and personally, and controlling it financially as well. But we appreciate everybody that's listening to us for that. And just in general, if you haven't yet, we hope you'll subscribe and continue to follow us on whatever favorite podcast platform you listen. But take that step. Like literally, you're listening to this. It's crossed your mind. Let's explore it. Let's figure that out. Okay. So that was just kind of a quick message we wanted to talk about today. A few little things I'd like to kind of remind everybody of. Our podcast website, franchising101podcast.net. All the episodes are there. There's usually some things that are coming up, different notes and things as well. So bookmark that if you haven't. We have next week, we have two things that are actually coming out I want to make people aware of is every month we do a franchisor spotlights. And we do it as a webinar, as a live webinar, and then becomes dropped as a podcast. So if anybody likes a webinar and wants something live, Tuesday the 14th, 2 Eastern, 11 Pacific. We got a fantastic kind of a home service brand we're going to talk about. So excited to learn more about them. Hit us up online to register for this. Again, franchising101podcast.net. Our main site is francoach.net. We're .netters here. It's the basketball guy in me, nothing but net. So anyway, we've got that. But also, if you can't make the live webinar, everything will be dropped as a podcast later next week. So look for that. And again, if it's something you would like to explore, the franchise ownership, and figure out how to achieve your get to, and get away from your got to, right? Then let's schedule a brief introductory call. Again, find us online, franchising101podcast.net or francoach.net. You can also click the link in your podcast window. Schedule a call with us. There's never any fee for our service. So we encourage you to take that first step today to help create your better tomorrow and get your get to. Thanks everybody for tuning in. As always, stay safe, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Francoach's Franchising 101 podcast, where our ultimate goal is to help educate you on all things franchising so you can create your better tomorrow.